to MasterTools videos. In this video, Vendors 3, we'll explain the functionality for the following buttons on the vendor: attachment, attributes, format overrides, special instructions, and vendor items. Let's get started. The attachment button allows you to associate documents to this vendor. Maybe you have a contract or you sent them a tax-exempt certificate. Any file you wish can be associated to this vendor. Select the Attachment button. If files have been saved to this vendor, you will see the path with the file name at the end. The file name will include the vendor ID. To attach a new document, simply click the circle green plus icon and search your computer for the file. The system will automatically copy the file to the MasterTools server and add the vendor's ID to the beginning of the file name in order to link it to this vendor. If you wish to link multiple files to the vendor, it is recommended that you name the files in such a way as to indicate what is in the file. In our example, by including contract in the contract file name and tax exempt in the certificate file, you can immediately tell by the file name what each file is. If you wish to delete a file in the list, select it and then click the circle red X. Now let's turn our attention to attributes. Attributes are characteristics of vendors that can be used to group vendors. This can then be used for searching and reporting. For example, suppose you have vendors that you purchase metals from and you have vendors that you purchase plastic from. You could create a vendor attribute called type with the values of metal and plastic. You would then use the attributes window to associate the attribute type and a value of either metal or plastic to the vendor. When running vendor reports, you can use the vendor attributes to query on. You can also use an attribute to look up vendors that have a particular value. Let's do an attribute search for vendors with the attribute type value of metal. Select Search, then the Attribute Search button. Select the row of the desired attribute, then the Query button. Look up the value you wish to search for, or type it in if you know it. OK to save the query, then OK to save the attribute search. Select OK a final time to execute the search. If there are multiple values, a browse list will appear of all the vendors with an attribute type value of metal. Now let's move on to the Format Overrides button. It is used for designating a specific purchase order format for this vendor. Enter the regular PO format in the Format column. This is the one you wish to override. In the Override Format column, enter the format you wish to use for this vendor instead when purchase orders are created. OK to save your changes. The Special Instructions button can be used to enter the instructions or notes you wish to keep for this vendor. The instructions here on the vendor will then default into the Special Instructions button on purchase orders for this vendor. The special instructions can be viewed by selecting this button on the PO. If desired, the system can be set to automatically open the Special Instructions window when a PO is made. A Special Instruction ID can represent a specific instruction that is the same each time, like RETP, or it can be generic, like miscellaneous, where you can enter a unique instruction each time. Special instructions can be printed on the PO format. Additional codes can be added in the System Setup module under Special Instruction Codes. And finally, there is the Vendor Items button. In order to understand this button, let's take a quick peek at the Item Master file. When setting up purchase material, you can indicate which vendors you purchased that item from. You can add various information for that item, including the vendor's part number for the item, its cost, lead days, lot size, and the minimum to buy. When that is done, all inventory items purchased from this vendor will be displayed in its Vendor Items button. This window also shows the purchasing parameters as well as how much of that item is available in the system. This wraps up our look at the vendor master file. The buttons on the vendor screen are just a few of the many features MasterTools has for fine-tuning and making the purchasing process a breeze. Thanks for watching.